This is Dr. RoboCoach with FantasyFootballDraft.com's review of the Fantasy Pros cheat sheet. I reviewed this a couple of years ago, and I think I gave it an A. And I did a little more research this year to make sure it was what I thought it was, to quote Denny Green, and it's not what I thought it was. And that's not good because it's not going to get an A. In fact, if you don't want to listen on, it's going to get an F, just like ESPN. And for the same reasons that ESPN got an F. And that is, it's not customized. So what do I mean? So here's the one league. It's got 3 wide receivers. That's the only difference. It's a PPR league. It has bonuses for long scoring touchdowns and for, reaching milestones like 100 yards rushing and 300 yards passing and 100 yards receiving. On the right, got the same thing, except there are only 2 wide receivers. So these are the players in my roster, my lineup. There are only 2, and the other one, there were 3. That is huge. 3 wide receivers is going to change the value of everything because of value-based drafting. And thank you, Joe Bryant, but everyone has known VBD for 20, 30 years. Joe Bryant just got an award at the FSTA for basically doing just that. I mean, it was groundbreaking at the time, and we've all been beneficiaries of his studies. But here it is. You can see on the left, I have the same top 4 as I have on the right. And you'll also note that there are no wide receivers in the top 4. So maybe I could see that on the left. That wouldn't, Cooper Kupp, Justin Jefferson, Chase, they wouldn't be in the top tier. But on the right, this is the 3 wide receiver league. Why aren't they here? Why is Justin Jefferson down here? Why is Cooper Kupp down here? Why is Jamar Chase down here in the second tier? This is a 3 wide receiver league. No excuse for it. There's also no excuse that I should have the exact same custom cheat sheet for both leagues because they're different leagues. There are different numbers of players in both leagues as well. They're different leagues. These should not be identical, but they are identical right down to the, this is tier 1, tier 2, tier 3. Okay, so that's the bottom line. You can move on now. If you want to know the details on how to find a good cheat sheet, then this is how I rate them. So you can come in here. If you want to see a good cheat sheet on the right and the bad cheat sheet on the left, this is how you judge. So what do you need in a good cheat sheet? For one, everything has to be customized for your league. And you need a custom scoring prediction. So you've got that right here in this robo column. That's the customized scoring prediction for this 3 wide receiver league. Or I should say it's for the 2 wide receiver league you see here on the left. The 3 wide receiver league is a different one. So with different values and etc. So what do you see here? You're like, okay, well, where are my tiers? At least over here, I'm getting tiers. You're also getting tier over here, but it's more useful tier. So you get these players right here are in the 359 tier. What is 359? That's a mathematical concept that basically says that these players right here cluster around the 359 number, and that's determined by math. So 368, 360, 343, they're in a cluster called the 359 cluster or tier. Those tiers transcend positions, which allows you to make apples versus apples comparisons. There it is. There's that same 359 tier in the running backs. So those 3 wide receivers belong in this first tier of running backs, and which means to say they're of equal value because the tier crosses everything else. And the only quarterback I see that's in that same tier is Aaron Rodgers. I know everybody's down on Aaron Rodgers. Don't worry, you don't have to pick him up until then. I'll explain that in a second. The WUP means wait until pick. So he's basically what this is saying, he's a sleeper. It's not saying that he's going to be your number one quarterback. They're saying there's a good chance he could be. What is customized VBD? What is the WUP? What is the delta? What are these columns that are required, which aren't on the left, but are on the right and are required for a good cheat sheet? That's your customized draft position or robo draft position, RDP. That's the ADP, which is just out there for leagues of this type. Delta is the difference, and WUP is the wait until pick. So Nick Chubb, his ADP is 29, but his RDP is 2. And so there's a big difference, but you can wait until the 25th pick to get him, and so basically he's a sleeper. The delta determines whether or not a player is a sleeper. That's it. WUP is key. You got to have it. You've got it on the right. You don't have it on the left. Front loaded and back loaded. That's what the plus is all about. Points today are worth more than points tomorrow, and so if they got a plus, they're front loaded. Cooper Kupp is back loaded, and so all things being equal, you would rather have Justin Jefferson and Jamar Chase over Cooper Kupp. What else is important is injury information and depth information. So obviously, depth is, you understand the importance of that, but injury is also really important. Deebo Samuel's got an injury, and it's not, you don't want to know that he has an injury. What you want to know is that that injury has changed his prediction. Is that 317 incorporating the fact that he's injured? If you want, more information about how these numbers are come up or determined, what goes into the algorithm, you can always come here and you can see what it's all based upon. Injury being an important one. Risk of injury, I should say. So it's an important part of Robo's algorithm, and you can find it incorporated in the predictions. So you're not getting that over here at Fantasy Pros, unfortunately. Let's take another look at it. It's just like, why are these two guys in the second tier? In fact, what do these tiers mean at all? Why do the tiers not change from this 3 wide receiver league versus this 2 wide receiver league? I mean, they're identical. There's tier 3 down there. Tier 2 is the exact same players. So what you can tell from that is that it's not customized. They just have somebody gave them, tiers. My guess is, they've got a PPR tier list. They went in, they pulled out the scoring system from this league, and they said, oh, it's a PPR league. And we've got a PPR cheat sheet with PPR tiers. And those aren't customized tiers. There's no 359 tier over here. There's just this fixed representation of what a tier is. It's really useless information. Yeah, I gave Fantasy Pros an A a couple of years ago. I'm embarrassed that I did that because I assumed a lot. When I saw that they went out and did synchronization with my fantasy leagues at Yahoo and CBS and ESPN, I was super impressed, and I just assumed that if they could do that, then they were also doing the other important things, or I should say the more important things on the back end, which were, hey, customize everything. You've got all my league information. And so I just assumed they're going to use it to give me a custom cheat sheet. Bad assumption. So now I know, and I gave ESPN an F, and I want to give Fantasy Pros even worse than an F because they had the information and they didn't do anything with it. You can give a developer a day and they could at least come up with, a simple VBD forecast for each league. And yet they didn't bother to do that. It's a real head scratcher why they would do that. In any event, it's deceptive. You think that you've got, you think that you've got something here that's going to help you win your league, but in reality, it's doing just the opposite. It's giving you something that will help lose your league. And that I didn't do very well, come to think of it, in those leagues where I was using Fantasy Pros. And now I think I know why. So I am going to I'm going to create a new grade that's below F for Fantasy Pros. And I think back when I was in school, what they would give you, it was like a did not participate, or it was they would grade you on pass fail. If you failed so bad that they didn't want to give you a failing grade, they would give you you would do pass fail. You would get it like a 4 credit pass, even if you had like an F, or even if you scored all you had to do was score above a 65. Okay, so I'm going to give this a 4 credit F. Nasty. Counts towards your grade point average for Fantasy Pros. I am so disappointed. This has been Dr. RoboCoach. Please like and subscribe.